Hope you can all find your tables. Your numbers are on your name tags, your table number. Always trying to improve our efficiency here at the Philippine Mining Luncheon. Again today we have Big Dean Homer, our roving cameraman. You'll notice Dean getting around with the camera. All the photos, by the way, will be posted on the website, so you can refer back to that. Dean's also available for commercial work, so don't be frightened to approach him about anything you've got in mind. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honourable guests. Welcome to the 12th Philippine Mining Luncheon. My name is Kevin Lewis, and I hope you all have an enjoyable and informative time with us today. Just before I get going, I'd just like to make a mention and a big thank you to our very valued sponsors. For without these sponsors and their assistance, the luncheon would not be possible. We'll start with our bronze sponsors. Cardno, unfortunately Ian Porter couldn't join us today, but Cardno has a 40-year history of working in partnerships with developing countries to deliver solutions for sustainable development through the expertise and professionals operating in more than 85 countries. Also, FL Smart, our pioneer sponsor. It's always good to have Leo and Ray here. They're here today. Leading supplier of complete plant equipment services to the global cement and minerals industry. Lomar Logistics, represented today by JJ. I'm not sure if he's here yet, but Lomar Logistics for all your logistical needs. Intertech, a leading independent international service company providing geophysical, mineral, environmental and analytics services. Craig is here and so is Peter. I've seen them this morning. Welcome, gentlemen. We're Minerals, delivering end-to-end solutions for all mining, transportation, milling, processing and waste management activities. CMI Consulting, the company to go to for all your engineering, design and drafting services. Mr. Mark Beaton, the Managing Director, is with us today. Move on to our silver sponsors. QED, Quest Exploration Drilling, the largest exploration drilling company in the Philippines. Also located in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands. The General Manager, Sean Fitzgerald, is with us today. Resource Advisors, who Leo will give you a bit of a heads up on later. They're represented today by their Director, Graham Deegan. GHD, Anne, represented by Country Manager Anne Lavers. GHD, with over 250 forward-thinking engineers, architects, geologists, drafters, planners, and environmental scientists and management consultants here in the Philippines. Oztai Geophysics and Geotechnical Limited for expert advice and guidance for geophysical exploration programs carried out in the mining and metals sector. Oztai can also provide a wide range of geophysical services to the environmental and engineering industries. Ladies and gentlemen, also today, AECOM, a global provider for professional, technical and management support services to a broad range of markets, including transportation facilities, environmental, energy, water and government in the Philippines. AECOM has been providing engineering and environmental consulting services since 1996 for the mining, port, power, water, toll road, oil and gas, real estate and manufacturing. I believe Elmer is here today, the country manager. And now our gold sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just tell you a little bit about our gold sponsor? Lockforce is an Australian-owned consultancy company with more than 150 staff with various operations all over the world. Lockforce provides you a comprehensive solution to all your needs through a broad scope of consultancy and auditing services that gives you unlimited options to ensure quality, security and safety. They help companies implement and achieve ISO certification and maintain it. Visit their website for more on those ISO certifications. They also have a booth with us today, and there's a very handy little booklet that Lockforce is gladly giving away. I believe they've only got limited supply, but please approach the Lockforce booth and get yourself a copy of the Personal Travel Security Pocket Guide. I've read this, and there's quite a lot of practical items in there. Lockforce has recently conducted 2 training seminars which were a huge success, attended by a range of companies including Petron, Wholesome and Shell. And due to popular demand, Lockforce will be running more awareness training seminars in May, where they'll be focused on security management, risk management, energy management. They will cover ISO 28,000, ISO 31,000 and ISO 50,000. So contact Lockforce for excuse me, for any booking details there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, may I say a few words about our Master of Ceremonies. Leo is a lawyer who retired in July 2010, a partner of Quisombing Torres Law Office, member firm of Baker McKenzie International, where he headed its energy, mining and infrastructure group. Leo now heads his own consulting firm that caters principally to the mining industry. He's also president of Resource Advisors in the Philippines. Excuse me, I had to do that. When he's not consulting or allowing his friends to dip into his wallet at the golf course, Leo and his friends from the Land Rover Club organise medical missions and relief operations with Pusong Monero and the Angel Brigade. He also likes to chauffeur, and I must talk to you later about this, family and new surfers to interesting surfing spots in his 20-year-old classic Land Rover. Leo serves as a trustee on the Philippine Australian Business Council, is a member of the Legal Committee of the Chamber of Mines of the Philippines, is a legal advisor to the Philippine Mine Safety and Environmental Association. He also likes to think that he's a transgender member of DeWatta. So ask Leo about that one later. A group of women professionals who support responsible mining in the Philippines. Leo also serves on the Board of Trustees of Enactus. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to Mr. Leo Dominguez.
Thank you, Kevin. You talk about Land Rovers. There's a sticker that I would like to put on my Land Rover, and I don't mean to diminish your brands that you drive, but it says, "Don't follow me, you won't make it." Speaking of that, we do have a Land Rover a festival that starts tomorrow, and we're heading out to Baler and Pinatubo. We have 22 foreigners joining us, and several of whom are motoring journalists. And we'll be 4 days out in Baler in this rain, which we would love to have, actually. We enjoy the rain and the mud. And we'll be back on Wednesday. So any of you looking for me, don't look for me till Thursday. So it's a pleasure again, Kevin, to be MC. And if I'm not mistaken, this is number 12. Correct. This is the 12th Philippine Mining Luncheon. How many of you have been here 12 times? Raise your hand. I was going to give you a free lunch today. I guess nobody's graduating summa cum laude except me. I've been here 12 times. Let me see. Is Fernando Moya here? Because it just looks like we had him as our first speaker just the other day. But Fernando Moya of Vale was our very first speaker. As you know, he's with the global mining giant from Brazil, Vale. By the way, the luncheon right now is being streamed live. So you can text your friends now, and I'll read to you the link. It's philippineminingclub.nowplanet.tv. philippineminingclub.nowplanet.tv. And we are being live streamed at this very moment. Some of you can even view this on your mobile device if you've got a smart one. Anyway, allow me again to say a few things about my company and Resource Advisors. Simply, it has two entities. One's called Resource Advisors People Solutions. The other is called Resource Advisors Search and Select. In a nutshell, through these two entities, Resource Advisors provides HR or people solutions to your companies, including executive search. My partner is Graham Deegan. He's sitting over there, and our team is with him. And please feel free to approach him if you have any questions that Resource Advisors can address. So now let's talk about today's luncheon. I ask this question of the group all the time, but I think there are newbies here, so let me ask the question again. What would the mining luncheon events provide to you who attend? Well, a good lunch, a nice venue, of course, but access to key leaders in the minerals industry, both local and global, as well as to personalities like our speaker today, who will give you a chance to own a stake in publicly owned mining companies and thereby help put funding from your wallets into the industry and dividends to you. Who should come to these mining luncheons? Well, people like you, who come from a broad range of business, not just mining. You can learn what specific mining companies are doing in the Philippines, who they are, and very importantly, how what they are doing can translate to dollars and cents for you. So if you are a banker, stockbroker, from media, government, an investor, professional, buyer, seller, or a service provider, hey, even a doctor and a teacher, you should come to these mining luncheons. How often? Every other month. The even months, if you know what I mean. So it's even month is February, so you can get the idea. How much? You all know how much the lunch is. You've just paid. I think it's $1,650. I'm sorry, $1,650. Now this, in case you don't know, is the fourth luncheon, I think, that we are here at this very exclusive venue, the Manila Polo Club. As you know, it is a very stately 100-year-old acacia trees, the ones that survived Typhoon Milenio, if you remember, which took down a lot of trees in McKinley. Right here in the heart of Makati. And we know we have fresh air, lots of green open space, and for you, best of all, free parking. So if you approve of this venue, particularly the free parking, let's put your hands together and show the Manila Polo Club our appreciation. Now, a bit of advice. Please, always please inform Kevin days ahead of every luncheon that you plan to attend. This way, Kevin can make sure that there's enough water in the soup to attend to you all. Actually, to make sure that there are enough meals for those of you who've signed up. If you're a walk-in without a prior reservation, well, I hope you're on a water-only diet. But worry not, there's an open bar during the networking that comes right after the proceedings, and I'm sure you will get a fairly adequate liquid meal. So it's Friday. This club is so private, hardly anyone will see you leaving passed out on a wheelbarrow. So enjoy the networking hour. Let me join Kevin in thanking our sponsors for this generous support. The largest room, of course, in the world is the room for additional support. So if any of you think that what the Philippine Mining Luncheon does is relevant to you, and if you think that it should be further encouraged and grown, there are several types of sponsorships for you to choose from. And if you want to know what they are, just feel free to check with Kevin right now, or check the Philippine Mining Luncheon website. At this point, I wish to acknowledge the presence of some very, very important friends. Just walking into the room, of course, is our very good friend and now honorary patron of the Philippine Mining Luncheon, Ambassador Delia Albert. Let's give her a big applause. Welcome, ma'am. You are in time for the introduction. We have Anthony Weymouth, Senior Trade Commissioner, Austrade. Please stand and be recognized, Anthony. There you are. We have Luis Sarmiento, President of Philippine Mine Safety Environment Association, and is from Orica, which gives you the best bang for your buck. Tom Henderson, of course, of St. Augustine Gold and Copper. Please stand. There we go. Clyde Gillespie, also from the same company. Paul McKibben, the Executive Director for PIMEA, please. Angie Peterson, a good friend, Anscham's Executive Director, please stand. A guest for the first time and very good friend from the Angel Brigade, Mr. Ariel Roda. And the president of Diwata. You will be hearing more about Diwata in sessions to come. Attorney Patricia Bunye. Of course, our very good friend from Oceana Gold, its country director, Brad Norman. There you go. At this juncture, I'd like to invite a guest to give us a short PowerPoint on a recent Typhoon Pablo relief operation that was held in Comval in January. So may I invite, please, Clyde Gillespie of St. Augustine Gold and Copper to come up and give us a 10-minute presentation. I'm being held to that number by Kevin because we're live. So please, join me in welcoming Clyde.
Well, thank you, Leo, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this afternoon and to present the Good Hands Project. Kevin, is there any secret to getting to my presentation here? Just so you know, I hand wrote my speech, so it's very short. I won't go over 10 minutes. Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. So as I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Good Hands Project, which was an effort by the mining industry to provide assistance to the Typhoon Pablo victims. On December 4th, 2012, Typhoon Pablo ripped through Mindanao Island, creating a wake of devastation that will take years to repair. This Category 5 super typhoon with winds of 260 kilometers per hour and intense rain that destroyed homes, churches, schools, and infrastructure, and created mass flooding that wiped out entire barangays. The typhoon affected over 700,000 families, 6 million people in 2,911 barangays in 34 provinces. The typhoon left behind over 600 casualties, 2,600 injured, and devastation that will take years to repair. You can see in some of the pictures of devastation. Tom and I had the opportunity to fly over the area a few days after the typhoon hit, and it was heart-wrenching to see the devastation that had occurred to banana plantations, to communities, to infrastructure. It was endless what the typhoon had done in the parts of Compostela Valley that we were able to view. So in the aftermath of Typhoon Pablo, Attorney Leo Dominguez had a vision, and he and Mr. Luis Sarmiento brought together a team, an international team that was needed to come in and provide medical assistance to the people of Locke in Compostela Valley. Working together with the assistance of Gia Velasco with PMC and also GeoProjects, Leo brought together a team that was needed to provide the medical assistance and also the logistics that were necessary to make this medical mission happen. The planning effort began with a meeting here in Manila involving key players in the project that ultimately were necessary to not only make the medical mission a reality, but to involve media so that the mining industry and those that supported the medical mission would be able to receive articles or press for their efforts. There was also a large coordination with the LGUs, headed by Governor Uy, municipal mayors, barangay captains, and other officials from the province, the municipality, and the barangay were instrumental in the coordination that was required to make this happen. Additionally, the Consulate General from Malaysia played a large role in bringing in a medical team that ultimately provided the medical services for the first medical mission. The Disaster Assistance and Rescue Team Foundation, or DART, headed by Mr. Jojo Banyas, who is here with us today, was very instrumental in making this happen. Without their coordination for the relief effort, it would have not happened. So through their efforts, they were able to compile a team of 8 officers, 4 directors, 14 barangay health workers, the 15 Malaysia paramedics, 40 staff from the King Copper Gold Project, and 19 members of the media. It was an intense interview when they got Leo and Tom and others cornered at the medical mission. There were many donations that came in the form of medicines that made this a reality. Ambassador Delia Albert and SVG provided assistance. Ambassador Roberto Romulo and Zulig Pharmaceutical, Oceana, also provided medicines. Through their efforts, the team had the medicine that was needed following the diagnosis to provide medicines to the team to the Typhoon Pablo victims while they were in Locke. On Friday, the medical team arrived from Malaysia and were greeted at the Davao International Airport. The Consulate General from Malaysia was there, Leo was there, and the team to greet the medical professionals. They then traveled to Tagum, where the following morning, Jojo Banyas and DART and also Butch Balmadres, the safety manager for the King Copper Gold Project, provided training on safety, security, and emergency response. The team then proceeded to the 60th Infantry Battalion, who provided the security for the mission, and they were then accompanied to the municipality of Locke. The team quickly organized themselves upon arriving in the municipality so that everyone would register, they would receive their examination, a diagnosis, then would move on to receive the medicine that was needed for their condition. The initial mission was in the barangay of Calagding, and pardon my pronunciation, where over 786 people were served. A later mission on February 2nd in Barangay San Antonio served another 946 people. As I said, the media, Gia working here in Manila, May Puyat, the PR coordinator for the King Project working in Davao, were able to bring a large team of newspaper reporters and television reporters on the medical mission out actually in the province of, or in the municipality of Locke. On the second day, heavy rain and flooding prevented the team from getting to the barangay San Antonio. So working with DART, they were able to travel to Davao City, where the city was being flooded, and provide some rescue efforts for the people in the flood areas. Because they were not able to get to San Antonio, a second mission was organized and completed on February 2nd in the barangay San Antonio. Relief goods that had been provided by TVI were delivered to the residents of barangay San Antonio as part of the medical mission on February 2nd. Following the medical mission, there have been many articles that have been published in the local Davao papers, Manila, throughout the Philippines, the mining sector, PMC, others getting a lot of press from the efforts. In addition to the medical mission, the King Copper Gold Project has been providing additional relief with initial efforts in the Bunturan, the Saturday following Typhoon Pablo, where food and clothing were provided as an initial relief. Also in Pantucan, in Barangay Bongbong and King, food, building supplies, seeds, and other relief goods were provided to the barangays. Also Magnaga, Napnapan, and Tagdangwa, additional relief efforts provided in those barangays. And that was as much as I could write. Oh, yeah. Hopefully I didn't go over my time limit. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that wonderful and inspiring presentation, Clyde, and it was a pleasure to actually have been with you at this mission. I've invited actually Mr. Ariel Roda of Angel Brigade, because it was we would not been able to organize a lot of things without their support. So I'd like you to meet Ariel over there. Ariel, could you stand up? We hope you can bring more stuff to the table, because there's a lot more to do in Comval. Ladies and gentlemen, Comval is still in dire need. So we hope that in some future interventions that we have in Comval, that we can actually call on support of those of you who wish to help, who can actually get in touch with Kevin through the PML website. We will be announcing whenever we have another mission being organized, and hopefully you get that information. And if there's something you'd like to do to help, we will call on that help. So I'd like to call at this point, and don't leave, the President of Philippine Mine Safety Pusong Minero, Louis. He's got something for you.
Thank you, Attorney Leo, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Philippine Mine Safety and Environment Association presents the Certificate of Appreciation to King Copper Gold Project for its invaluable support to the PMSEA Pusong Minero program, safety networking action, and commendable humanitarian efforts during the Typhoon Pablo Project Helping Hand, medical mission and search and rescue operations in Compostela Valley, Davao City, and Davao City from January 16 to January 22, 2013. Given this 22nd day of February 2013 at the Manila Polo Club, signed Luis Sarmiento, President. Thank you very much.
Can we invite Tom to please come up and Jojo for a photo? Delia Albert, would you like to join? You were at the mission. And of course, from Angel Brigade, Ariel, please join us for this quick photo. Gia, Butch. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Let's get closer to this photo. Scoot, okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. A final note on the mission. At the mission dinner on day one, I asked Ambassador Albert to say something to our guests from Malaysia, and she said something quite startling and quite moving. And she said, you know, as I see it, this group that's with us today is not a group of 4x4 enthusiasts from Malaysia coming over to help the Land Rover Club 4x4 enthusiasts to do a mission. She says it is Malaysia reaching out, offering its hand of help to the Philippines in its time of need. And she said, this represents a further stitching of ASEAN cooperation. And you know, in the days that followed, in the conversations that I was having with our friends from Malaysia, they got it. They had this feeling that this was just more than one visit to Davao to help, but this was the beginning of something that could be quite lasting. In fact, as we explained Pusong Minero to them, the idea that if they had to do a mission in a third country that required any assistance of our miners, they were very happy to call on us. And I understand from Louis that this is something that Pusong Minero would be happy to do. As well as, of course, bring the volunteers from DART Davao to whatever third country we could be doing help to. So thank you for the whole idea and concept and bringing us to a much higher level, Delia. And this is why you are an honorary patron of the Philippine Mining Luncheon. Okay. So at this juncture, I'd like to call on a person to introduce our next speaker, Sandy Gillies. I apologize. You guys have to eat first. So maybe a few minutes at your lunch, and then we will call on Sandy to make the introduction. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are allowed to enjoy your lunch. Is to bring any relief goods that you can put together for our victims in Combal. I was in Sendong last year in January of 2012. And the Sendong rehab isn't over, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Pablo is worse than Sendong. So I expect Pablo and its rehab operations to last well through the year and beyond. So it will always be time to do something for the Pablo victims. So I hope if you do have something that you'd like to put together, just get in touch with us through the website of PML. During our last luncheon, I talked about tarps. I always collect tarps, and these are advertising tarpaulins that have been put away and can't be used anymore. I always try to collect these used tarps because they're very handy for repairing classrooms, holding temporary classes outdoors, and of course, as temporary shelter. So if, that's the easiest thing to ask for, because none of you really have tarps, but you obviously know somebody who does. And it's lying in people's warehouses doing nothing. So if you can grab one or two of those, or a handful, put them together and let us know through the website where it is. And if we can get the Land Rover Club and its other partners to go pick it up, we'll go pick it up. We have NYK Shipping that ships all of these tarps for us for free to Davao for the Comval victims. Okay? So they have a container open for us all the time, and we're shoving things into it. So the rehab process and relief hasn't stopped. We also have Santa Fe relocators. Anyone here from Santa Fe? Mr. Van Meerbeek. They have also very kindly offered, whenever their trucks are down and not busy, to pick up any relief goods that you can put together, and they will deliver that to NYK for Comval. So those of you who want to join this fun run, Rico, would you please stand up? He's the other person wearing a hat in the audience. His telephone number is 0917-540-0332. 0917-540-0332. And those of you who are watching this live on the internet, you too are invited to join this fun run in Comval. It is for the benefit of the Typhoon Pablo victims. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rico.
Economics. Then he finished his coursework for a PhD economics program at the University of Pennsylvania. Our guest speaker has lengthy experience as an investment banker. He was vice president and head of Capital Markets Asia at Citicorp Securities Incorporated in New York City. He was managing director for Asian Fixed Income at Citicorp International. Then he was director and head of Philippine investment banking at Salomon Smith Barney Asia Pacific. From year 2000 to 2008, he was chief representative of Citigroup Global Markets in the Asia Pacific, based in the Philippines. Our guest speaker then served as chairman and independent director of the Philippine Stock Exchange from May 2009 to January 2011. He was named president and chief executive officer of the Philippine Stock Exchange in January 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Hans B. Sikat.
Market. And I don't know whether we'll have time for questions later on, but I'm certainly open to having a dialogue. There we go. So just very quickly, for those of you who have been following the news, things in the Philippines have been doing extremely well over the last year and a half, and clearly the trends are also very good as we move forward. The monetary environment is one that is very benign with low interest rates, and I think if you take into account that inflation has been quite tame as well, we are looking at all these indicators of credit upgrades looming, such that we are actually a step away from investment grade, depending upon which rating agency you talk to. And I think that the issue on our competitiveness ranking globally is that it's a trend that's been improving, could be improving faster, but generally, all of these taken together have created a series of, or a sense of high business confidence in the country, as well as the belief that there will be sustained economic growth as we move forward. Now that's manifested itself both as a lagging indicator and a leading indicator in terms of the PSEI, which is the stock exchange 30 company index. And even as we've started the year with a great run, we are now up about 14 or close to 15%. And we have, in fact, breached this record high, I think 20 times now this year alone. Interestingly enough, if I take a look at some of the numbers going back, one can argue that over the past 4 years, inclusive, we've seen compound annual growth rates in this index climbing of about 30% each year. And if we take a look at our neighbors around the world, as well as our peer group ASEAN country exchanges, perhaps a good news to say that over the last 3-year period, dating from the end of 2010, you will see that the index, again as a reflection of the economy, has actually outperformed every other country there. And if we're looking at 2013, year to date, we are running second to Vietnam. Now, we've also seen a number of very basic indicators which, again, talk about and reflect the good news in the Philippine economy. And that is, or those are, increase in our market cap for various companies. You can take a look and see that market caps have increased something like about 15% or 14% in terms of the value of companies listed on the exchange. And actually, our average daily trading volumes are up about a quarter to roughly about 9.1 billion pesos per day. There was a time when we were trading at about half of that number, about 2.5 years ago. So it's actually been an incredible amount of activity on the stock exchange. Now, investors' appetite, including foreign investors' appetite for securities on the market, have also increased. And we've seen that last year, foreign investors were net buyers to the tune of about 100 or 110 billion pesos, which is roughly around twice the amount that they put in the previous year. This year, it's running about at the rate of a net foreign buy of about 34 billion pesos. Now, one of the things that underpin the behavior of the stock market today is the fact that there has been record issuance using the stock exchange over the last 2 years. Last year alone, we raised over about 219 billion pesos through the stock exchange. Those are IPOs, private placements, follow-on offerings. And that number, which is about $5.25 billion US, which is a significant number, was already 100% of the previous record, which was set the year before, where about 107 billion pesos were actually raised. So I think it's fair to say that this has been spread evenly around various types of fundraising methods with follow-on offerings, which mean that these are subsequent public offerings of companies taking the largest share of the transaction value. I'll talk about a few milestones that we have done in our own exchange as a business. And this is actually very important in terms of supporting the underlying activity in the market. First of all, we are committed to our market education program, which combines both a short-term and a long-term program of trying to upgrade the understanding of financial markets and increasing financial literacy through the country. We have established various regional centers and also have launched, if you take a look at our website, what's called the PSE Academy. So you can actually get an education about the stock market by just going to our website and utilizing a number of the, let's call it, programs within that website. We also, by the way, have established a Twitter account and a Facebook account. So for those of you who are a little bit more social media savvy, please do follow us on these social media. On Twitter, I think we have about 7,000 followers and counting on our Twitter account, and our Facebook page gets an average weekly series of visits in the 9,000 area. And both on Twitter and Facebook, you will find seminars, special events, announcements, as well as very basic disclosures that are coming out directly to the public. So in addition to what you might see as on a broker-dealer's trading panel, you're also going to get a few of the information directly sent to you. Perhaps the largest, I guess, program that we did last year in terms of ensuring that there would be enough stock supply in the market was completing or reinstating something called the minimum public float requirement. What happens in the Philippines is that there's a requirement to have 10% of your capital publicly floated on the exchange. Interestingly enough, through 2007 or through 2008, with the great financial crisis and a lot of requests to buy back stock from companies, the exchange actually suspended the rule. And what happened was that a lot of companies, quite correctly, were buying back their own stock, believing in terms of the value, saying that it was undervalued. Well, lo and behold, by the end of 2011, about 47 firms, or about roughly 18% of our listed companies at that point in time, had public floats less than 10%, which obviously did not jive well with our requirement. I must say that the reinstatement of the rule has, both from a corporate governance as well as a basic stock exchange activity, been quite successful. If we take a look, right now there are, I think, only 6 firms which have not complied with the rule and are probably trying to figure out a way how to comply or delist before the June deadline. In terms of other corporate governance issues, we have actually launched a separate company called Capital Markets Integrity Corporation. This is actually the watchdog for looking over the shoulders of broker-dealers in terms of being, let's call it, the internal policeman. So that's now a separate independent company directly under the SEC, although it's a PSE which funds it. And we've also instituted our Bell Awards, and these are corporate governance highlights such that companies which are actually performing in a manner wherein they breach corporate governance standards, not just of the SEC but also the PSE, and are perhaps looking at global standards, are actually recognized. And we're also recognizing some of the broker-dealers along with this. Now, finally, I mentioned the increase in our average daily turnover. This actually has also been a function also of the longer trading hours that we have promulgated on the exchange. We used to be one of the few exchanges left in the world that only, I guess, officially traded in the morning. We've now extended our hours up to 3:30 p.m., and I think the direct correlation with volumes, values increasing, as well as maybe the increase in activity on the exchange, has been a result of this, and you see that in the lower bar chart. Now, how important is the stock market, the mining subsector to the rest of the stock market? If you take a look at this graph, we actually have a subsector called the oil and mining index, and it's represented by that, I guess, that purple line on top. What it tells you is that on a risk-adjusted basis over time, since 2009, the mining and oil sector have actually outperformed the PSEI and has essentially outperformed every other sector in representing companies in the Philippine Stock Exchange, which tells me that it's a very important sector of our economy, and certainly a very important sector as far as the Philippine Stock Exchange is concerned. I think you know this, that there are actually 17 mining companies listed on the exchange. And actually 2 of these companies are currently in our 30-company PSE index. and account for a combined weight of about 3%. As of end January of this year, 2013, our listed mining companies have a market capitalization of about 416 billion pesos, which is roughly around 12% higher than the year end before. As you know, the mining sector has been, I guess, as a sector within the Philippines, has been, I guess, relatively underperformed last year. Now, the average daily trading value for the mining sector is also up by about some 8% year to date. Now, consistent with the overall government policy to develop the mining industry, the Philippine Stock Exchange has implemented a few programs which I think will benefit the subsector. And the idea is obviously to help list and raise capital in the stock market. Now, under this strategic initiative, the exchange adopted a more liberal interpretation of the listing rules to allow mining firms to list without compelling them to meet the stringent track record requirement of profitability of operations and operating history requirements. Now, these relaxed rules apply mainly to mining firms whose activities are limited to exploration. So in lieu of the track record and operating history requirements, the firms are required to secure just additional documentary evidence, obviously for us to inform investors. We hope that this would entice companies to list, given the capital-intensive nature of the business. Now, along this initiative, we also continue to have listing seminars, which are specifically focused to mining firms, looking at raising capital and funding projects through the stock market. As you may know, also, that in 2008, we adopted the PMRC, which is patterned after the Australia's JORC. And we do hope that with this, the minimum standards, recommendations, and guidelines for public reporting of exploration results, mineral resources, and or reserves are essentially standardized, and obviously give the transparency level required for our mining companies to be understood by the investing public. Now, this code is applicable to all, I guess, solid minerals, including industrial minerals and coal, for which public reporting of exploration results, mineral resources, and or reserves are required by the PSE. Now, what's our outlook for the sector? You may actually have a different view on this, but we actually think that the outlook on the sector today will be dictated by the movement of commodities in the international market. And we think because of that, that current demand will be relatively subdued because of the issues in the global economy. So except for gold, which is considered a safe haven, I guess, in times of crisis, demand for metals will be, I guess, up and down, depending on the economic uncertainties that are faced. So I guess to be specific, as we see the issues of China, we think that even with the soft landing, this will continue to weigh on the price of copper, since China is one of the, in fact, the largest consumer of copper. If I have the number right, it's about 40% of global production. And we think this is a disadvantage for our current miners because of the Chinese market for copper exports. Now, of course, even with this relatively subdued outlook, we believe it's an opportune time for new mining areas to be developed as the global economy recovers. So clearly, as the global economy recovers, and given the time lag for a lot of these production facilities to be done, that once the global economy is up and running to full speed, then I guess we will be able to reap the rewards of such increased demand. Now, one of the studies that we've seen is that with the development of more mines, the Philippine government estimates that revenues from mining should reach about US $8 billion by 2016, and something like about a $12 billion US number every year for 20 years, beginning in 2018. Not sure if you agree with those. But last but not least, we think that the performance of the mining sector is obviously going to be impacted by the, the latest interpretation and I guess the implementation of the Executive Order 79. So we're cognizant of the challenges in the mining sector, and I think we know that I guess globally the mining sector is probably hounded by the same items of challenges and risks. Outlined here is something which Ernst & Young have outlined, and these challenges usually, I guess, stand out across geographies. So it's not just the Philippines, but everywhere else. And these are resource nationalism, access to capital, infrastructure, cost inflation, and skills shortage. The resource nationalism problem is perhaps most persistent here in the country. As mentioned, EO 79 is seeking to establish a more equitable revenue sharing scheme with the government. Now, with the issuance of the executive order, it's the preparation, I guess, for this new mining reform bill. But I guess the moratorium of the issuance of new mining permits being imposed until the passage of this reform bill has put at least a stop temporarily to some of these new initiatives. The Mining Industry Coordinating Council, which is tasked to supervise drafting the bill, is looking at two options to achieve this fair revenue sharing scheme. One is to take a percentage of mining companies' gross margin or take a portion of their revenue after taking away income tax paid and computing the share of government. Now, being a capital-intensive industry, the issue of access to capital may not be unique to the mining industry, but it's certainly, again, perhaps a bottleneck in many cases. And I think the history of the Philippines in terms of the ability to provide the appropriate amounts of capital, the appropriate forms of capital, as well as the speed and duration for bringing capital into mining sectors is something that needs to be reviewed and I guess helped along as we move forward. So it's not a surprise when some companies list in Australia, list in Toronto, or even the AIM exchange in London to try and address some of these issues that have been mentioned. I guess cost inflation is something that is, again, might be today at least unique to the mining industry when you talk about specific inputs, and certainly that is an operating risk. And when we talk about skill shortage, I think that the OFW trend, the overseas foreign worker trend, wherein the Philippines tends to export a lot of its semi-skilled and skilled workers, certainly contribute to a diminishing number of available skilled laborers here in the Philippines, including the mining sector. I guess finally, safety standards, while being addressed by organized mining and responsible mining firms, is an issue that is probably not addressed by the illegal miners, and that creates actually a worse situation for the industry as a whole, because then the mining sector is viewed as one that's being irresponsible as a whole, again, without making distinction between what companies who are responsible are actually doing today. I'd like to mention that I guess in 2012, the capital raised in this mining subsector in the Philippines was about 1.9 billion pesos, which actually is a lot smaller than what was raised in 2011. That year, about 3.5 billion pesos were raised for the mining sector. Interestingly enough, I'm sure those of you who are mining operators would probably argue that you have a lot of regulatory constraints. Now, it's something not unique, and I argue, perhaps as an economist, as a former investment banker, that the stock exchange faces exactly the same type of constraints. And we've always tried to argue for maybe an update to our antiquated regulatory systems, and looking at perhaps a wider leeway in terms of regulatory framework, such that getting from point A to B to C from an operational standpoint does not require you to go to the various, let's say, agencies and regulatory agencies to get approvals. It's something that we share, and something that's common to the PSE and how we're actually regulated. So, it's a topic that I can talk on for hours, but I won't. Anyway, the point I was going to make is that even President Noynoy Aquino said in his first State of the Nation address that, and I quote, "Growth will only be possible if we streamline processes to make them predictable, reliable, and efficient for those who want to invest." And it's something that we at the Stock Exchange actually support, and we are, as an advocacy, trying to work with the SEC and hopefully with the other regulatory agencies in the government to try and maybe reduce the number of types of regulations, but perhaps give a larger box for companies to operate under. Maybe finally, talking about the economic outlook for 2013, we do share the view that economic growth this year will be relatively robust at over a 6% level, and we think there are many opportunities in terms of this growth. We also think, by the way, that our investment grade status is perhaps around the corner, although I think personally that it is not going to come in the first half of the year. It is going to come in the second half of the year. And it's important to note that the investment grade status, while just a number in terms of the rating agencies' grading system, but is a very important number as far as the macroeconomy and how we stack up against other countries and how we stack up against the views and perception of various investors, including a lot of these portfolio investors. I just came back from Tokyo. We talked to about 41 different institutional investors, and one of the interesting things, if I may take away from that, is that let's call it Japan Inc. is basically an investment grade only investor country. And while they've been able to put a small amount of their investable funds in what they call discretionary levels, until we get to the investment grade status, this is a type of thing that will actually generate a further inflow of funds, not just from Japan Inc., but certainly from a global series of investors that are investment grade only investors. So I must say, though, that it should be good to note that if you take a look at the financial trading data, the implied rating of the Philippines is already investment grade. And I say that when we take a look at what we call the credit default swaps. We actually trade inside or under credit default swaps of Indonesia and Brazil, two investment grade countries. And when our national government goes out to borrow, they have now done 10-year Republic of the Philippines US dollar bonds at a spread that, and also a nominal, I would say, a nominal yield that is about half of what some of the Eurozone countries have raised money at, including, by the way, former mother country Spain. So that particular deal, we had about a 3.9% yield for Republic of the Philippines bond deal for 10 years. Spain did something closer to 7%, so a reversal of fortunes over the centuries, I guess. And for those of you who are thinking of the stock exchange as a method for raising capital, I would be remiss if I did not do some advertising. Please do consider the stock exchange as one of your fundraising alternatives. If you do qualify, we do IPOs, follow-on offerings, and the like. And I think that we can have various conversations with specific firms, and we have a team actually trying to help all these companies interested in what's happening on the stock exchange to actually either get yourself listed or to utilize the stock exchange for further fundraising. And so finally, I would say that, and I thank you again for having me here, because one of the things that the PSE does is try and work with all stakeholders in terms of trying to improve not just how we operate as a firm, but how we can help promote the various subsectors that actually contribute to and do the hard work in reality for why the index is flourishing today. And so with that, I guess I'll stop here and say have a good afternoon and good to see everyone. Thank you.
Allow me to open the Q&A, but before I invite you all, notice where the microphones are. When you raise your question, kindly walk to the microphone and identify yourselves and what organizations you're with before you ask your question. Please use the mic because I'm hard of hearing, and I think a few other people are like me. So, the floor is now open for questions. Okay, I always exercise the prerogative of asking the questions. Hans, what would you regard as the top 3 reasons for the robust performance of the PSE to date? By the way, you're not allowed to say that one of the reasons is because they made me the president. So what are the top 3 reasons that you consider for the robust performance of the PSE?
Okay, I think, first of all, we've had, I think one of the fundamentals that our monetary policy and the ability of the Banco Central to actually have inflation targeting has been done very well over the past few years, such that we now have a yield curve that's relatively low and interest rates that are, quite honestly, not just nominally low, but also real interest rates which are extremely low. So I think that would be the first reason. I think the second reason would be that there's a strong perception of all investors, local and foreign, that the governance in this country, as well as underlying corporate governance, has improved tremendously over the last 2 years. This is a very important part of that equation. And I say that, by the way, when I talk about both local and foreign investors, that if you take a look at the activity on the exchange, last year, on average, for every day of trading, about 55% of that value, including incremental amounts, was actually contributed by local institutional and retail investors. And foreign investors only accounted for 45%. Today, actually, this February, it's closer to a 51-49 breakdown, but still the local investors, local institutional and retail investors are the ones driving this whole, I guess, if you may call it, confidence level. Maybe the third one is that, which is quite important as well, is that companies that are listed have actually demonstrated maybe a very uncanny, but certainly a very good performance level in terms of increasing revenues and increasing their own earnings as a group. The PSE listed companies as a group last year increased their revenue streams by something like about close to 20% over the previous year, and earnings about 18.5% to 19% over the previous year. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is the single largest increase when you compare ourselves to ASEAN. No other group of publicly listed companies grew revenue. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So, one more. Gee, 4 things now. Gee. Wow. You've changed the trend here. Kevin, can you invite me to be a speaker one day? On this note, I'd like to point out that we do have 5 students from the mining industry. I hope they're still here. They're here sponsored by Cardno, if I'm not mistaken. Could you, the mining students from UP NIGS, please stand up? Okay. Now, I know the demand for cadet mining professionals is getting to be good, so get to know these guys at the networking, and you students, please spread out and meet your possibly future employers. Our speaker for the 12th event, or should we say speakers? Okay, is this something that I should be announcing here, or yeah? A panel. This is a panel discussion on the subject of the mining community and the environment. Why mining community and environment are so important to the mining industry, and what is being done to enhance harmony between the mining industry and its host communities. And we are going to be having that panel discussion on the next luncheon, which, do we have a date for that already, Kevin? On April 12th. So please keep an eye on the website announcements and our mailers for the details of this coming presentation. If we do not have your details for luncheon notifications, kindly leave a business card at the door so that we can make sure that you get the mailers with regard to the new or the upcoming luncheons. As you go, please leave behind your name badges, but before I let you go, we have I know what you've all been waiting for, it's the draw. And the draw is for 3 wines, 3 bottles of wine. Speaker got 2, my gosh. So I'll pick 3 cards now. Ha! Daniel Romero Salas of ThyssenKrupp, I hope you haven't left. I saw you a second ago. Did he leave? He was just there. No? Gone? Gone? Well, too bad. Too bad. Get another card. Ramil Barcebal of Pacific Power. Are you here, Ramil? Gone too. Ah, this is getting heated. Paulo Carvajal of Soriamont. Are you here? There you are. All right, finally. Come up and get your bottle. And from IA Campbell and Associates, Inc., the president, Ian Campbell. Congratulations, Ian. And we have one more, right?
Yep, that's 3.
Okay. From Brunel, Access to Excellence, Aloha Gapusan. Are you here? Aloha? Have you said aloha to us already? There you are. Congratulations.
I need 3 women as well for the band.
Oh, 3 women.
For the band, dapat women.
Ah. I'll go look if I... Puro lalaki ito. Oh, don't go away. I'm looking for women's cards here because we have
Eco bag.
an echo bag to give away. We have how many to give away? 3. My gosh, too many boys. Wow, another boy.
I hate boys.
Another boy. Another boy. Unless Paul is a girl. Okay. From SOS, Melissa Nemedes. You hear? She's flown the coop. Natalie Tarin of JLT. Gone. They're fast women. Natalie's here? Oh, there you are, Natalie. Congratulations. Oh. Haya Mercano. Haya of Lock Force, are you here? There you are. Are you going to be one of the runners in Combal? Oh, that's... Oh, Lock Force is very, very fortunate. Mickey Rosanes. Our runner. Mickey, okay. You know, if you rub this bag right, it turns into a flying carpet and you can get the Combal for free. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. This now brings us to a close. And we will start with our networking. And thanks to the courtesy of our friends from Comval, St. Augustine Mine, we will be playing a video, which you're not required to stay and sit in your seats to watch, but from where you're drinking your beer, it will be playing, and I understand it is a very interesting story on what's going on in Comval. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Give ourselves a round of applause.
And thank you, Leo, for being our MC once more. Thank you.